Question: how do you get a new Prime Minister without elections? The answer: you live in Australia. I'm saying that because Australia has a new Prime Minister after Tony Abbott was ousted as leader of the centre-right Liberal Party by Mr. Malcolm Turnbull. Now, this whole thing kind of came out of nowhere, Jose. Literally earlier today, very early in the morning, Mr. Abbott was dismissing rumors that there was going to be a change in leadership. He was saying, now that's Canberra gossip. I'm not going anywhere. Guess what? A few hours later, we got a new Prime Minister in Australia. Under the Australian system, as well as in the UK, it's not about getting the majority of voters in that country. It's about getting that majority in Parliament. That's exactly what happened. I guess he wasn't popular enough, but we're seeing a guy, Mr. Abbott, I'm talking about first, who's pretty far right, or at least he'd be seen as that in this country. And then you have Mr. Turnbull, who's quite the opposite. He came out and said this is going to be a thoroughly liberal government committed to freedom, the individual, and the market. So big differences between the two. I think this is going to be a big change for Australia as a country. I mean, we're talking about Tony Abbott, who's, like I said, pretty far right. He was anti-climate change, often criticized for his way of dealing with migrants, trying to deter them with the different camps in completely different countries. That was getting a lot of criticism. So now we're seeing somebody much more liberal on that other side. Quick change. Literally, we just did a 180 out of nowhere.
It's a crazy thing because for most of us that we've lived in democracies, presidential politics mean that the people need to elect the top leader of the country. In this case, in Parliament, you vote for a party. And if the PM, in this case, becomes unpopular with the party leaders, he will get voted out. It happened many, many times. Actually, Australia had almost 5 different PMs in the last 5-6 years because of this process, because of your party not liking you anymore. And like you mentioned, Tony Abbott created this government that was really some journalists compare it to the George W. Bush presidency because he was coming from the gut instead of coming like from consensus, and that's what the new Prime Minister tries to bring back. He's from the Liberals. That Liberals, just a clarification, in Australia is actually the Conservative Party, and what the Democrats will be is the Labour Party. And so the Liberals, in this case, they're trying to come back to a classic form of government where the communication between the parties is more open versus what Tony Abbott had, that it was very he was making the choices without taking into account what the party really wanted for the country. Right.
No, totally. And you mentioned how there's been so many prime ministers lately, and this whole idea of these disposable prime ministers leaving before their first term is up is actually becoming the norm. I just want to mention that the last Australian PM, that was John Howard, he left power in 2007. That was the first time, that was the last time, rather, that we saw a prime minister finish his first term, which is pretty, I don't know, that's like you said, for someone living in America, that's really surprising that you'd see such shifts in power so frequently, so quickly, so rapidly. He served as Minister of Communications under Mr. Abbott. Ironically, Mr. Abbott at one time pushed him out, now he's pushing him back, and that's the way it goes in Australian politics. Very different from politics going on here in the US, but we want to know your thoughts. What does this mean for Australia, but also what does this mean for the whole world? Let us know in the comments below, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the Lip TV 2 for more.